much are you over? Work within 10% because I still have to meet with the pod leaders just to share with them what I've shared with you guys. How much are you? 1900. What is the overall word count, Michaela? Because the problem is once you start going over here, it becomes a problem in the later submissions. And what is the allowed word count for this one? And I know that I was part of this decision, and it's one of those decisions that have come to bite me as well. So how much is the overall word count? I know, but you'll be fine, man. In terms of having your conclusion, you'll be absolutely fine, Michaela. No, I don't think there'll be an issue in terms of that. There won't be an issue in terms of that. It sounds pretty good, actually. Right. So can I just go through what we went through last week? And I don't want to be a broken record because I think we want to get to the point where you guys start asking me questions and we start working on your submission together. So just before I start, are there any issues at this stage that you're concerned about? Yeah, but I think we tend to work on 10% over. So if it's 2000, we'll give you leeway till 2 because I think when we work on 10%, then you can count in your references and everything, and it doesn't become too much of an issue. Okay. Right. So we spoke about this last week. I think we've got the title sorted. Having said that, guys, remember your title will be verified by your pod leader. Please do me a favor if you've got a good title, and I know that, I mean, one or two of you I've told just maybe talk to the pod leader. But where we've agreed a title, please don't just give in when they want to change it. I think, and I will explain this to the pod leaders as well, because we've worked hard on these titles, and I think we've got these titles pretty good at this stage. Who is concerned about their title at this stage? And you know, I've got so many because I mean I've got 60 odd people, so I can't even remember who has what title. Okay, so in terms of the introduction, and I want to show some examples tonight from the introductions, etc. So give me a fraction of a second so that we can start seeing what standards are required and what we expect in terms of these submissions. Let me find a really good one. Okay, and I'm going to open a quantitative one. It doesn't really matter. The introduction, those things remain similar. So you'll remember we spoke last week, and then I did share Elisma's, and Elisma has given me permission to share this. So I'm not too worried about Poppy and those kinds of things. I quite like this idea of the introduction. And we spoke about this last week. The idea of grabbing attention, the idea of just capturing someone's attention. And I'm pretty sure I would have shared the story about what happened during COVID. Have I shared that story if I had to do research on COVID? Have I shared the story about what happened during COVID and the song I put on Facebook? Okay, that's fine. So even if it's a personal experience, and often, Walter, when COVID happened, I went onto Facebook when they told us we're in lockdown, and I found REM's song, It's the End of the World as We Know It. And I even played it, and put that on Facebook. Now, if I had to do research into my experiences during COVID, I would share that story as the introduction, and I would have here, it's the end of the world as we know it, and then I would quote, and I would obviously give REM credit, and then the transition sentence is, yes, this is ridiculous, but this is the emotion that I had the moment I found out that we were going into lockdown and that my world was about to change. And then from there, transition to that. So whether it's a personal experience, also, guys, you can make some of the most outrageous comments in the world. I mean, electric vehicles will destroy the planet is one that I saw recently. Electric vehicles will destroy the planet. And again, the transition sentence, it is, yes, that sounds outrageous to say that electric vehicles will destroy the planet. However, there are a number of factors that need to consider in terms of manufacturing and disposing of the batteries, etc., etc. So that kind of transition sentence. And the sooner we get this right, the better. And I think at this stage, you should be focusing on this level of quality already, that we get these transitions right, that we get our grab the attention. And please do me a favor. I like this idea. Now, again, if your pod leader doesn't agree with you, I will be sharing these with the pod leader so that we're on the same page. I just like that kind of pop, hit you in the face moment when it comes to your introduction. And then, in terms of the introduction, from there, it is to then lead you into the topic. So, if it's about how electric vehicles are bad, take us to why you think electric vehicles are bad, and start introducing what your research is about. And then just remember, guys, you're starting to link it to your literature review. So you're starting to give us ideas of what will follow in the actual discussion, in those themes that you have. And then this to me is important. To be honest with you, they will be communicating with you directly, Michelle. So the moment we have all the titles. Ronaldo, and remember, Tammy's not with us anymore. So Tammy has moved to Durban North, but has a foot in both places. So she'll be involved in that still. But yeah, so I'm hoping that they will finalize the appointment very, very soon. My understanding is that there are two people that are in the final races. I can't discuss more about that because I'm not supposed to know about it. And I'm not going to say more than that. But one of them was the student that did this course with me about 5, 6 years ago, who has completed a master's and is now starting a PhD. So I would love to see her get the job. And I'm not even supposed to know that she's part of it. So that's my hope for this, because she will be astonishing in Tammy's position. The other person I don't know. And so I am a little bit concerned about this as well. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. No, it's to just boast where the people who I teach go to, guys. I'm so impressive. Okay, and then your roadmap. Okay, and then your roadmap. The roadmap in this document, I will be attending to the following. Humility is my strong point, as all of you guys know. Let me carry on. Sorry, guys, it's late and I'm causing nonsense. For me, I like the idea of having your literature review as the overall title. Important in terms of that, and I know for a fact that Elizma did this really, really well. Where is Elizma's document now? Because I can't find it. So please just and remember, this is the final document. The one rule that I have, and now a lot of this stuff you won't need because we'll need this later, is never ever have headings on headings. Please just, if that is your heading, literature review is your heading, and let me go back to that document. So literature, just tell me what a literature review is. Tell me what comprises the literature review, because these transition things really add to the quality of the document. And remember, guys, this is research, and yes, it's at a very small, on a very small scale, at a very low level. But it's the first time ever that you're adding your own bit of knowledge to existing scholarship. So we've got to take this seriously, and we've got to be impressive with this stuff. So in terms of that literature review, yes, I've got it there, but tell me what the literature review is about. Tell me that in this literature review, I will be attending to the following thing. Then your theoretical framework. Don't just go from your theoretical framework to your first theory. Give us an idea of what a theoretical framework is about. If you use one theory, that's fine. If you use two, if you're doing quantitative, we would have suggested two theories. In terms of your theory itself, and it's astonishing how many times I can say this, but people will mess this up. I think often at this level, when we start doing research, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record because I've said this before, What happens is people write their theoretical framework as if Maslow, that was designed, and please don't use Maslow as your theory because I think that's entry level and we don't do entry level in this course. But Maslow, that was written in the 1920s, was specifically written for this piece of research. It wasn't. So, in terms of your theoretical framework, remember the three elements: the theory in its original format. So, tell us what the original theory said. Give me the original devisers, authors, the people who postulated the theory. Yeah, the people who developed the theory. Theory in its original format. If you have, hold on a second. If you have a theory that's worth its salt, you will know that there will be updated views on the theory. So tell us what people have suggested in adjusting the theory, what people have suggested as amendments to the theory, as updates of the theory. Remember, theories, when they are designed, are moment in time, and they're often designed within a particular time frame. I mean, at the moment, this is my own little bit of work that I have to do because I'm getting incredible pressure. But I created my model for my PhD. Oh, guys, it's now 14 years ago or something stupid. I created the model. Okay. I'm actually taking that model and saying, is this still relevant today? Because it needs to be updated. Because when I did it, the world was very different. We didn't have AI and we didn't have a variety of things, including Donald Trump. So I'm updating it. That's what this is about. Have a look at updated views on that theory because theories are moment in time. They reflect what has happened at a particular point in time. And we can see it in silly things like leadership theory. I mean, back in the 1920s, leadership theory was the trait theory where in order to be a leader, you had to be a man, you had to be tall, you had to be good looking, and you had to be good at talking and slightly more intelligent than your followers. We know that's not true, but at that moment in time, that was the going theory. So give us updated views on the theory, and then only tell me why you've selected this theory to frame your research. So essentially, why is this theory relevant to your research? Can I just see people that have written already and done this? Is that the approach that you've taken? And guys, don't wait for the pod leaders. Please don't wait for the pod leaders. Go start writing this up. I think all of you would have at some point got your theories from me. We would have worked on the theories when we worked on the titles. So please just do it that way. This is what a best practice for us is. And then I think we want to, by the time we get to the pod leaders, you need to have at least written up your theory. Okay. From there, and just to go through, oh my gosh, sorry, new laptop, new pictures. Oh my gosh, that's pretty cool, that picture. Right, so your theoretical framework. So here you can see her two theories that the two theories that Elisma used. Guys, not a big fan of direct quotes. Please don't give me direct quotes. But you can see, so the theory in its original format, and then the updated views on the theory. Please also note integrated discussion. We don't just want Michelle, you're supposed to feel the pressure. I mean, we don't do mediocre here. Otherwise, we would be government. Sorry. If anyone works for government, it's just a silly throwaway joke. Okay, it's just a throwaway joke. Or we believe in Trump. Ordered. I promise you, if I'm not here 1 week, you'll know that the CIA has got hold of me. Okay. Just remember, not a single theory, it's an integrated discussion. So if you wrote all of that and you used the same author over and over, that is a summary. It is not a critical review, it is not a critical discussion. Guys, and I know some people are going to do it and it's going to irritate us. So please make sure that, I mean, here you can see the number of authors that she's used. And it's about making sure that it's not a summary, but a critical and integrated discussion. And then you can see she talks about the refined bits and adds in pieces around that, supported by additional authors. I mean, this was a 91% submission. Can I just say, though, this was a 91% submission. And then why will it work? And she tells us why it will ground the study. So it tells us the relevance of the theory. Shelby, that's the magic of this, because theories are moment in time. And sometimes what will happen in terms of theories, as the world changes, theories become slightly irrelevant. So you might have contradicting views. And once you start putting in those contradicting views and building your argument, that's when we have a critical discussion. No, it's not necessary to reference multiple authors, but as long as you don't have the same author, so one author per paragraph, which is a summary. As long as it's an integrated discussion. But Michaela, I know you know that. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff. Okay, I know you know how to do that. So, what is the relevance of the theory? But you can again see supported by proper, valid, reliable sources. And Eric, yeah, Brett, sorry, Boyo, you say holy moly, but you know what, Boyo, if I know what you did last year for your marks, so we're not going to escape how well you did last year. It's as simple as that. That doesn't escape us. So you've got to maintain. And Kokolas and all of you, I've got a whole bunch of people that are doing this over 2 years. We know what you did last year. We expect the same level, the same standard. I mean, and also I'm a complete bully, as everyone knows. Tanya, for your work, don't think you're going to escape this, Tanya. Just remember all of this nonsense when you just remember all of this nonsense when you evaluate me. Our lecturer is a bully or an idiot, mind you. I take both as a compliment, guys. So she's because she did a quantitative approach. She needed to have two theories, and if you have two theories, please remember the transition stuff. I mean, you can see how she's transitioned into the perceived values theory. So they're not sit alone as, yeah, no, email that six pack and you'll be fine, Tanya. So they don't sit alone. It is just that flow that we're starting to create. And the sooner we do this, the easier we make it for our markers and the less feedback we have to attend to when we get to the final document. And again, so here, perceived value theory, and I know that I've given the perceived value theory to some of you to use, and you can see lots of discussion on it. Now, what I do know about the perceived value theory is that it's it's been amended, it's been updated, and some new concepts have been added to make it more relevant in terms of the year, which she's done there. But again, guys, look at the multiple authors there. It is an integrated discussion. And then from there, the relevance. Why is this relevant? And you can see why what Elizabeth did there. And the reason I asked permission to use this and not have to blank out names, because I think when you deliver this level of work, you absolutely deserve to have your name advertised. Right. So that is your theoretical framework. So in terms of the silly rubbish that I write there, theory in its original format with the original authors, and please go and reference the original authors, guys. I don't want to see, and I'm going to use Maslow, but you're not allowed to use Maslow because it's entry level. Maslow in Robbins 2005. We don't go find the original writings, guys. Go look at the original writings. They're out there because it just lends validity to what we're doing. I'm a bully, man. Right. And then I call it reporting of literature because we don't want to use the term literature review twice. Literature review is our overall overarching concept. So in terms of, I can't remember, a review of literatures, you can see that this was my student as well, guys. So here she starts talking about what literature review is, what she's going to talk about. Key in terms of this will be your themes. Michaela, how difficult was it to arrive at themes? And I know this is not your first time doing this kind of thing. How tough was it to get to those themes? Michaela, are you there? Yeah, very cool. And guys, remember, you have to struggle a little bit with this stuff because, those themes aren't going to jump out at you. But what you don't want to do is try and figure the themes beforehand and then try and fit information to it. Um, the themes will emerge. Absolutely. Almost if you've done your research and if you've done the readings, the themes will emerge from that. Very, very cool. And the themes will emerge from the stuff that you read. It will emerge. It's just labeling those themes. Please do me a favor, guys. Okay. Oh, thanks for that, guys. Thank you so much for that, Michaela. Guys, just remember, make sure that you label your themes. I don't want to try and infer what these themes are. If you label your themes here, in particular when you do qualitative research, when you do your own little bit of analysis and you arrive at your own themes, it's very easy to connect those back to these. So please label your themes. I don't want to try and infer what your theme is. I'm also not going to tell you how many themes you need to have, but you can see the themes that are here. I refuse to criticize these themes because I didn't do this research. But you can see the number of authors that are in here, and you'll see she contrasts arguments and she builds some sort of coherent set of thoughts in terms of this process. And it's a critical discussion. Now, can I predict something? We will have students that will write all of that and they'll use the same author. Oh, no, absolutely. Michelle, are you asking about Elisma or? I've shared it already, Michelle. I have shared it with you guys. I think it's on ARC. I've stuck it on ARC. It definitely is on ARC. Okay. And it's heck of interesting. And she works for a tough organization with tough standards and serious consequences. And I can't go into detail. I don't know how much she shared in here because of obviously confidentiality, but with serious consequences when things go wrong. So this is a wonderful piece of work, guys. So it definitely is on ARC. And yeah, the only little irritation, and I think this might be, yeah, but I would have given feedback on this. Please don't do that outside brackets. It is AND, and it shows you how what a pedantic old, and I'm not allowed to say that term. I am. It should be and. Okay, guys, it's not. It isn't whatever that sign is there. That is only when it's inside brackets that you're allowed to use it. So please write and. And yes, I'm full of nonsense. Honestly, I am so pedantic. It's age, guys, and lack of alcohol, I think. Right. And then also that somebody's going to go complain about that comment as well, I would imagine. So there we have it, her themes. Again, that can only happen if you go and read and read widely. I think we've spent a bit of time on how to find information and sources on that. Can I just see, have people started attending those library sessions? Remember, we made allegations that they weren't doing their job, and it turns out that they were running library sessions on a Wednesday from 7 to 7:30. Has anyone gone to the library sessions? Because I'm quite happy to ask someone to come in here and do a session specifically for us. Okay. Um, I wonder, I wonder if I can get Brenda to come and do this for us here. Would you mind if I allocate one of my hours to a colleague? I just need to convince her to come do a library session in one of these. Go for it, Tanya. I think I would do that. It is
Sorry, I
Brenda.
pressed the wrong button.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask what sign you were actually showing me. It involves the hand, but maybe a different finger. Is that what happened? Okay, someone will go complain about that as well. Let me see if I can ask Bren next week, guys. Um, I'll ask Brenda next week. I'll ask her straight after this. Go for it, Chelsea.
So I'm so sorry. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the work. It's just I love your profile picture because I feel like your profile picture works perfectly with your laugh. It's like you are like giggling at us, like taking the mickey out of us. It's so funny. I love it.
This is what happens when you drink before class. Yeah, I quite like that profile picture as well, guys. They've told me it's not professional enough. So I've left it just because someone told me it's not professional enough. So it's now everywhere. It's in every meeting. Tell me my picture is not professional. Oh my gosh, man. I'm the most professional lecturer on. That's not true. And I think everyone knows that as well. Okay, guys, and then the paradigm. Um, yeah, this is tough. Okay, I think we are going to spend a bit of time on this now. Yeah, the paradigm. Just make sure that you maintain that golden thread. Exactly, exactly. Smoothly as well, boy. Smoothly when I operate. Now, if this was Formula One, I'd be fine because I said smooth operator. This is not Formula One. And if you know that story, you get 10% extra on your assignment. In fact, you get 25% extra on your next assignment. Okay, and then your conclusion. So, in terms of the paradigm, and I want to spend a bit of time on that tonight. Okay, guys, want to look at the paradigm in a little bit more detail. So we spoke about the paradigm last week, and we spoke about how a paradigm exactly, Chelsea, exactly 100%. We spoke about it's 20, no, it's 30% now because of inflation, guys. I've upped my 25% to 30% extra now. So when we look at a research paradigm, we spoke about how your research paradigm guides your view of the world. It guides how you interpret the world. And I gave plenty of examples using my kids who are more science than I could ever imagine to be, as a way of contrasting my view of the world. So, in terms of the paradigm, I think there are a couple of things, and I just want to jump ahead to this slide because this is possibly the best slide that I have on all of this. So, in terms of our ontological assumption, and it's important to use the slide when you do the write up. In terms of what do we consider to be reality? What is reality to us? And depending on your worldview, sorry guys, please give me a second. So apologies for that. So in terms of what we consider to be reality, if you're a positivist, you see reality as being singular, as defined by sets of laws. So reality for my son, and I know Michaela will say exactly the same thing. Water is H2O. That's the reality. We can verify it, etc. For me, water is something very different. It is an escape. It's solitude. It's a way of relaxation. In particular, when I'm in the ocean, I think for me that's some of my favorite time ever. So when you see reality as separate from the researcher, then we know that you are a positivist, that you believe in sets of laws that cannot be disproven and has been proven over time, including gravity. I think everyone will remember the fiasco from a couple of years ago at UCT, where the girl said something about gravity and how gravity depends on where you are on the planet. I don't know if you remember, there were so many memes about that I don't know if anyone remembers that. But gravity is gravity, and we know how to calculate that. In terms of interpretivism, again, my accident example, it is in the eye of the beholder. Reality is in the eye of the beholder. Here, this is what the accident investigator will look at. This is what the people who are interviewed would adopt as those. Oh, thank you for that, Michaela. Well done. Yeah, grab that, please, guys. Absolutely grab it. I'm going to grab that as well, Michaela. Thank you so much for that, hey. Right. And then your epistemological assumption, essentially, what do we consider to be valid knowledge? Here, you are objective, you are separate from what is being researched. In terms of interpretivism, you form part of the research. Your own values will affect it. You will interview and you will use the results from those interviews and interpret, and your own values will be there, and you're very much part of the research. In terms of axiology, here it's value free and unbiased. I mean, that's why we use stats, and we use stats that can be verified and generalizable and that are valid and reliable. Here, essentially, because we're part of the research, and often when you choose qualitative research, it is because you have a personal interest in that research. There's something that draws you to that research. I mean, when you go and look at my last bit of study, my PhD, and remember, my master's was done quantitatively, and my PhD was done qualitatively. It had real personal meaning for me. You know, the idea of what happens when we're in crises and people are losing their jobs, because I'd seen so many people go through those processes, and for me, it had a lot of personal meaning. So we have to acknowledge the fact that our own values are there. But you know, we acknowledge the fact that our own values are there, but we also do other things to make sure that we just don't give our own opinions. I mean, key in terms of qualitative research is to make sure that you accurately reflect the thoughts and the emotions and the perceptions and the concerns and the stuff that you get from your interviewees. Because I think it's almost the moment you let your own values and you write up what you think it should be, I mean, you're not acknowledging the important contribution of those people who you had interviewed. Guys, and then rhetorical, and this is unfortunately where we've now had to standardize. I don't agree with it, but this is what we've done. So if you were doing your masters, you can use a personal voice because it's about personal experiences. Here you write in the third person, but I think what has happened over time is that the standard has become that. So when we have our marking calls, etc., and we have our national marking calls, this has become the default setting. So just please keep it formal, your writing for both. Please just don't, when you write, the researcher of the opinion is. Just state your opinion. You don't have to say the opinion of the researcher, which is you, is. I mean, that to me is also too much. And then methodology. Yeah, and we've spoken about this. Methodology here is deductive. So we move from the general, which is the theory that we're using to prove, to the specific, where we try and prove that theory within a particular context. This is inductive, guys, where we move from specific thoughts, perceptions, ideas, concerns, and we create a general view of that. So we move from the specific behaviors and we create at a very low level our own little theory here. And we're not expecting at this level that you will create a theory. Okay, so we often look at cause and effect. And remember, we've got two variables. Those of you that are doing quantitative research, you will have an independent and a dependent variable. We would have written your title saying, describing the relationship or explaining the relationship. And the moment we start doing that and use the term relationship, we are referring to our variables. And then just also, yeah, context free, because ultimately you should arrive at a set of results that can be generalized to other contexts. And then you can see there's the idea of generalization and the accuracy of results, because we verify it through stats and we show validity, we show reliability, and we'll do all of that in terms of lectures going forward. Here we make sure our findings are accurate, but we use different standards. We use standards around trustworthiness, and we use triangulation, and all of this will make a lot of sense when we get to the ethics and quality of your research. This slide is also pretty good. This is one of Varsity College slides. So again, you'll have that, and just remember, and that, don't worry too much about that. And also to just say, guys, we don't allow critical realism. It's too much to do a mixed method study at this level. It's impossible. It really is impossible. There's nothing else that I have to worry about. This is also a pretty nice one to look at, and you can use that example. And then just the other parts of the rubric. Has any questions at this stage? So if we look at Elisma's, now this was quantitative research. Now I need to remember the final layout where she put her paradigm. I'm just going to cheat and do it here. Hold on a second. Okay, so you'll see she told us what a paradigm is. She told us that it's a positivist paradigm. She discussed each of those. A little bit too much reliant on Duplé and Celliers, and that's why you'll see that I've in ARC loaded a bunch of research textbooks. My apologies if they are duplicates, but they're nice. They're extra references, and I would download them. And I spoke earlier to the class, and I know not everyone is in the earlier class, but just remember, this is building towards a master's. And I know not all of you will join me in the master's next year, but I know for a fact that some of you will join me. And those textbooks become important when you get to master's, because you don't know what specifically I'll be lecturing there, although I will have some modules there. And it's important to start keeping these. And you can just see her discussion there. I can't remember offhand if I have, hold on. Yeah, I think I've only got quantitative research here. Okay, but I have got qualitative research here. I'm secretly hoping that I have shared this to just also show you how this has changed from previous years to now. Previous years, this was across an entire year, and yeah, the reports had a lot more in it. Where is that? Where is it? Sorry, guys. Jackie Grant. Some of you might have been taught by Jax as well. Okay, she did her postgraduate with me. Yeah, so this is qualitative research. Have I shared this one with you? It's evolved since then, because it's now only a single semester. Back then it was 2 semesters. Guys, did I load Jackie Grant's into ARC? Please let me know if I haven't, because this is a really good example of qualitative research. And you can see what she had done in terms of a topic as well. But these documents, but the layout now is very different. So she's more about have a look at the heading and see what she's put into those, because this was a very, very good, yeah. And secretly, this is the person I'm hoping that will become my new boss, but I'm not allowed to say that. So, okay, I'll make sure that I get Jackie's up as well. Any questions at this stage, guys? Was Kiara's qualitative, Michaela? Can't actually remember, but yeah. What has to happen now, guys, is you have to start writing. You seriously, seriously have to start writing. I'm going to stop the recording, and in case people want to ask questions, and we can chat so we don't waste people's time. Okay. Thanks, Michaela.